So in this section, we're going to talk about critical reading. We're going to talk particularly about reading to begin the writing process. So we're going to look at how to read to write, how to read critically, how to take effective notes, and how to understand some of the general features and expectations of academic writing. Because remember, there's no clear separation of skills here. Reading and researching, constructing arguments and writing are all interconnected processes. Each is a part of developing your own ideas and finding the particular stance that you want to take and defend in your work. And the elements of writing an essay can relate in this circular rather than linear way. And these circles here are just some of the circles to keep in mind. So others more broadly are that critical analysis of texts will help you with your own arguments and thinking. And your own arguments and thinking will help you with your writing. But your writing also helps you develop arguments and think, which in turn will help your critical analysis of text. So basic point is everything is interconnected here. So research and writing are intimately related. For instance, you can start writing by getting together some ideas, fairly obviously. But one way to do this is to ask yourself right away what you think a good answer to the question you've been set would look like and why. So if you can identify your own thoughts early on, and it's a good way to get focused and get started. If you don't have many of your own ideas to start with, you can then develop them by reading relevant texts. And to find relevant text, recall from the wide reading work that we did, recall that you go over key ideas and concepts presented in your course, so you've identified what are relevant to the question. And you choose reading which will develop your understanding of these ideas. And you can begin by knowing what the question really is, so that you're reading at all stages with that question in mind. And perhaps too some sub-questions, so some questions that the main question involves. And all of this is going to help the initial process of focusing your reading. So to get into the actual critical reading, let's have a look at what sorts of things are involved in a critical read. Well, reading critically basically means reading for strengths and weaknesses to gain a deeper understanding of a point of view, rather than just necessarily accepting the writer's position or just identifying the writer's position like you would in a wide read. So in a critical read, we're looking for any arguments in the text, and topic sentences are good for that. We'll talk about what a topic sentence is later, but it's generally the sentence that captures what is said in any given paragraph. So identify any arguments in the text. Then you will also examine the strengths of those arguments, which might mean examining any evidence or noting any lack of evidence where it seems that there ought to be some evidence, substantiating those arguments. You might look for assumptions and reasons, and those might be stated or unstated. Basically, what's underlying the author's ideas, their arguments, their claims. You'd also try to imagine or find other texts giving counter-arguments. Is there evidence that maybe could undermine the arguments being put forward? So basically, critical reading is examining the claims of a text closely and asking whether you are or whether you should be convinced, and why or why not. But one of the best ways to understand critical reading is to go through an example of it. So have a look at the activity below and have a try of it yourself. Then watch the short video following it for a quick run through of one possible way you'd complete this activity. So of one way, a critical reading of that passage below might begin to develop your written response to a relevant essay question.